Starting with number 10. At number 10, from the 49ers, it is Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw, the 10th best player in Super Bowl 58, and here is why. So, Dre Greenlaw, I have said, and I talked about of all season long, on basically every other team except for the 49ers, he'd be the best linebacker of the team. I maintain, obviously, Fred Warner coming up later. I think Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw is one of the best linebacker duos I've ever seen in my life. Just instinctual. Fred Warner's more of a better cover guy than Dre Greenlaw, although Dre can get in there, get some interceptions. He got one. He got one against the Packers in the second round of the playoffs. He's a guy who can make the tackles. He can play coverage. A very smart linebacker, very instinctual linebacker. Both those guys. Fred Warner's a little faster than Dre Greenlaw, but this is a guy who, again, on virtually every other team in the NFL would be your best linebacker. Dre Greenlaw, the 10th best player in Super Bowl 58. At number 9, to the Kansas City Chiefs, probably the most underrated player on my list. It is L'Jarius Sneed. L'Jarius Sneed, the 9th best player in Super Bowl 58, and here's why. So, the fact that L'Jarius Sneed was not a Pro Bowler is a joke, is a straight-up joke. Just like Tua Tagovailoa being over Josh Allen, and y'all think I hate Josh Allen. That was for you, Mike. But listen, that was crazy. Tua is not better than Josh Allen, not by a mile. Same can be said about some of the corners that got in over L'Jarius Sneed in the Pro Bowl, but that's okay. He's in the Super Bowl. He's going to show you what he's got. It's the guy in L'Jarius Sneed who's against some of the best receivers in all of football. Guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, guys like Devontae Adams, and Jamar Chase. Some of the best wideouts in all of football. Dude has shut them down. Quarterbacks, when throwing at L'Jarius Sneed, complete 51% of their passes. Not to take a shot at this guy, but it's true. That's Tim Tebow numbers. Like, this is a guy who can lock down your best receiver. I don't know if he's going to be on Ayuk. That my guess is he'll probably take Ayuk for most of the game on Sunday. He'll probably take Debo at others. Obviously, the Niners aren't exactly short on weapons. But this guy, L'Jarius Sneed, is arguably the best corner in all football. He is as solid as they come. L'Jarius Sneed, the 9th best player in Super Bowl 58. At number 8, it is Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa is the 8th best player in Super Bowl 58, and here's why. So, a bit of a down season for Bosa. He had 18.5 sacks last year, won Defensive Player of the Year. And he dropped down to about 10.5 sacks this year, so not quite as impactful a player as he used to be. He did get a new contract. Oftentimes we see guys, it's human nature. You get a new deal, you're not quite as impactful as the year before. Lamar Jackson's kind of the outlier to that rule. He was great this year up until a couple Sundays ago. But talk about a guy, Nick Bosa, who's you got a game plan for him then some, okay? He can get around the edge. He's as fast, as quick as any pass rusher in the league. He's not like a TJ Watt in that regard, but he's still very, very impactful in terms of getting to the quarterback. Listen, I heard him say the other day he was whining about some holding call that they didn't call in the Chiefs win in Super Bowl 54. He needs to put that stuff aside, get his head in the game, because he's one of the biggest game wreckers that the NFL has, and the 49ers are pretty lucky to have him. They drafted him 2nd overall in 2019, made the Super Bowl that year. He is an absolute game wrecker. Again, bit of a down season. He would have been higher had he had around like 13, 14 sacks. He only had 10 compared to his 18 last year, which led the league. Nonetheless, Nick Bosa, the 8th best player, in Super Bowl 58. At number 7 from the Kansas City Chiefs, it is Chris Jones. Chris Jones, the 7th best player in Super Bowl 58, and here's why. So, Chris Jones is somebody who has an extended history of making quarterback's life a living hell in the playoffs. Most notably, he did it to Joe Burrow last year in the AFC title game, just getting to the quarterback constantly, being able to force fumbles. This year, he was great in the AFC title game against Baltimore. He was really good in he was great, in that divisional round game against the Buffalo Bills. He was the guy who made the play around the edge on Deion Dawkins, the Bills' left tackle. Look at Chris Jones come off the edge here, pushing Deion Dawkins into Josh Allen, who missed what could have been a go-ahead touchdown to, I believe it was Shakir in the end zone in that Buffalo Bills loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. So he is a guy who can get to the quarterback. He can stop the run. And listen, he was the leader of what was the second best defense, objectively, the second best defense in all of football, second in yards, second in points allowed. This guy was the catalyst for all of that. And safe to say, whether it's from Kansas City, which I believe it will be, or it's from somebody else, my man about to get paid this offseason. Chris Jones, the 7th best player in Super Bowl 58. At number 6 from the 49ers, it is Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel, the 6th best player in Super Bowl 58, and here's why. I have been a Deebo Samuel guy since his days at South Carolina when he was killing my Tennessee Volunteers in the SEC. I mean, this guy put the ball in his hands, and he is magic. Absolute magic. He's physical as a running back, as quick and shifty, great after the catch, like a wide receiver, like a great wide receiver. I've said before, he's the best overall offensive player in the National Football League. You can throw the ball to him, he can make plays. You can run the ball with him, he can make plays. And by the way, he has a touchdown pass or two on his resume. So he's the do-it-all type guy, jack of all trades to a certain degree. It's really, really impactful. I mean, listen, I went as far as to say that if he missed that NFC title game against Detroit, I might have actually picked Detroit. He played relatively well. He's got 2 weeks, obviously, to get his body right before the game against Kansas City. He made some plays in that Super Bowl his rookie year against the Chiefs in Super Bowl 54 in Miami. This guy is money with the ball in his hands. Deebo Samuel, the 6th best player in Super Bowl 58. At number 5, again from the 49ers, it is Fred Warner. Fred Warner, the 5th best player in Super Bowl 58, and here's why. Well, he's the best linebacker in all of football. Let's not get that twisted. This is a guy who's, again, great in coverage, very instinctual player, great tackler, has been relatively durable throughout the course of his career. When he's healthy, when he's on the field, this is a different Niners defense. If you look at the numbers, this is a guy who's kind of like the leader, kind of the quarterback for this Niners defense, which, listen, by the way, statistically speaking, in these playoffs has simply not been as good as their talent would suggest. However, I think this guy's the type of dude to get these guys. Obviously, they have a really good defensive coordinator, Steve Wilkes, but this is a guy who, before the Super Bowl, once the emotions are high, ready to getting ready to go, it's a veteran Niners team. They look to 54, not to 57 Greenlaw, not to 97 Bosa, not to anybody else. It's Fred Warner leading that group, getting them ready to go. This guy's as special of a player as there is, and I think you'll see that in many respects on Sunday in the big game. Fred Warner, the 5th best player in Super Bowl 58. At number 4, it is Trent Williams. Trent Williams, the 4th best player in Super Bowl 58, and here's why. So, unquestionably the best left tackle in football, and that's with respect to guys like Penei Sewell, who I think is kind of next in line in that regard. This guy's an absolute tank. I mean, that's the only word I know to use to describe this guy. Doesn't give up sacks, barely gives up pressures. This guy I've talked about before. Someone called him the Shaq of the NFL in terms of being a left tackle, and I could not agree more. You talk about, I mean, the pancake blocks. Brock Purdy does as average as this Niners offensive line has been at times. I think they finished this year ranked by Pro Football Focus 21st. He does not have to worry about pressure coming from his blind side, and we know left tackles are invaluable. Left tackles are kind of like offensive lines. I've said before the old saying that offensive lines are like air conditioning systems. You only notice them when they're not working. Left tackle can be used primarily in that analogy. Trent Williams has been a monster all season long. Guy's a veteran. Guy's played, it seemed like forever. I can't remember NFL without Trent Williams. He's an undeniable first ballot Hall of Famer. Maybe, just maybe, the greatest player in the history of this position. He's an absolute unit. Trent Williams, the 4th best player in Super Bowl 58. At number 3 from the Kansas City Chiefs, it is Travis Kelce. You Swifties will get that reference. Travis Kelce, the 3rd best player in Super Bowl 58, and here's why. So I read the stat after the Chiefs win over the Ravens in the AFC title game. I read the stat the next day that Mahomes is 23 of 27 when throwing to Travis Kelce. He has, I think, 4 touchdowns this playoff run, had a couple against the Bills, a couple more against the Baltimore Ravens. Just a monster. He just broke Jerry Rice's record for the most, I believe it's the most catches in playoff history. This guy, listen, security blanket is a disrespect to what this guy's done his whole career. This is year 11 for him, looking to get ring number 3. I think he's the greatest tight end of all time. That's with respect to guys like Tony Gonzalez, Gronk, Shannon Sharp, Antonio Gates, Jason Witten, whoever you want to throw out there. This guy's it. You can even throw out Kellen Winslow as well, was a great tight end. This guy's absolute money. When in doubt, number 15 Mahomes is going to go throw a number 87 Travis Kelce. He had a rough regular season, at least by his standards. He didn't get to 1,000 receiving yards, which would have been the 8th straight year that he accomplished such a feat, which is incredible. Speaks to his individual greatness. But listen, he dealt with the ankle injury starting with that Minnesota loss back in week 4. He got the week off in week 18 and looks like the old Travis Kelce this playoff run. He'll be critical if the Chiefs want to get a 3rd title in 5 years. Travis Kelce, the 3rd best player in Super Bowl 58. At number 2 from the San Francisco 49ers, it is Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, the 2nd best player in Super Bowl 58, and here is why. So, in a year where running backs seem less valuable than ever, when you have a guy like Christian who can run the ball effectively and also be a great wide receiver the way his dad was. His dad wasn't a great receiver, but an impactful one nonetheless. Ed McCaffrey with the Denver Broncos back in the 1990s, winning those Super Bowls there. This guy's electric. There's nothing more you can say about him. He's a home run threat every single time he touches the football. One could argue he's the most valuable player on the Niners. I think Trent Williams is the most valuable player on the Niners. But Christian McCaffrey's the guy who put the ball in his hands again, even more so than Deebo Samuel, is money. He's the best running back in the league with respect to Derrick Henry. But he can also be a great slot receiver. He's fast. He's physical. He's been relatively durable throughout his time in San Francisco. I remember when that trade happened, and I think it was October of 2022, and everybody's like, oh my God, you gave too much up to get Christian McCaffrey. And I said, are you kidding me? This guy had a 2,000-yard season just a couple years before that, and you give him to Kyle Shanahan? Oh, he's going to tear the league up. And that's exactly what he's done. He's an MVP finalist. And frankly, I think if the Niners win, he's going to be the MVP of the game. Christian McCaffrey, the second best player in Super Bowl 58. And number one is the obvious. Look, let's not waste any time here. It's Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, the best player in Super Bowl 58, and here is why. I mean, do I really need to tell you why he is a win away? I compared his numbers, got this graphic from Monday. Compare his numbers to Peyton Manning, who I believe currently is the third greatest quarterback of all time. With a win on Sunday, Mahomes undeniably passes Peyton Manning. That's their playoff numbers side by side, which Mahomes absolutely blows Manning out of the water in virtually every single category. If you look at Mahomes, this is what's so great about him. I've talked about this. All we want from our great athletes at times, James Harden's a primary example, just maintain your level of excellence from the regular season transitioning to the playoffs. Mahomes said, no, I'll do you one better. I'll go the extra mile. It's not crowded there. I am going to go from awesome in the regular season to ridiculous in the playoffs. Okay, he's got the third most wins in playoff history, best win percentage in playoff history. He's got the most yards per game in NFL playoff history, best touchdown to interception ratio in playoff history, best pass rating in playoff history, and best completion percentage in playoff history. He's incredible. By the way, Mahomes has won his last 6 playoff games. In that span, he's got 2 AFC title game wins, a Super Bowl win, a Super Bowl MVP, and he's literally not thrown an interception in any of them. He's taking care of the football, and he understands, given whatever the matchup dictates, if I need to make plays, incredible plays like I needed to against the Buffalo Bills, then I'll make them. But with Baltimore, who's kind of, self-imploding to a certain degree, I'm just going to play it safe. We're going to hit him immediately with this opening drive, hit him with another response drive, and kind of play it safe from there. Don't screw up. Let them screw up because they're going to with our great defense. And that's what he did. Patrick Mahomes, come on. What more can be said? There's a reason people are talking about him potentially catching Brady. Patrick Mahomes, the best player in Super Bowl 58. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.